Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage, and today we are coming back with a video that a lot of you have been requesting, but we're going to do it a little bit differently because, yeah, you like that? You like that new hat? What do you think about that? There's some schmutz on it apparently. But nonetheless, we are diving into idle tuning, specifically idle tuning with bigger cams, because a lot of you have been asking for it, and this is a very, very simple yet at the same time a complicated subject that can be a little confusing and cause people issues whenever they get into it. And so I wanted to put out a video that kind of touches on some of the things that we have to do whenever we do idle tuning, and then we'll take a quick look at the different generations, some of the stuff that you'll see on the different generations, and then eventually I will get out a generation specific video where we touch on the different commands and things that we need to set up. Because the thing about it is, whenever the more aggressive that your cam gets, the couple things are happening. You're getting higher lift and a longer duration, which allows the engine to breathe in more air, but at the same time, you're often getting more overlap. And the reason for that overlap is in the higher RPMs, the exhaust side of it actually creates a scavenging effect that will draw in additional air. That's how you make more power with an aggressive cam on the top end. You often lose power on the bottom end because at the bottom end, at these slower RPMs, that scavenging effect does not happen. And in fact, some of the air that you draw in during the intake process will get lost out the exhaust side. So you're losing air volume at the idle range, lower RPMs. That's why a lot of the times cams don't like to run. And that's why you'll have issues with the lower RPM, initial settings, where we have to go in. A lot of these vehicles are set for 550, 600 RPM idle. That just will not work. There's not enough vacuum. The engine cannot process air properly enough at that RPM. And so one of the first things that we always have to do is go in and bump the RPMs up a couple hundred RPMs. So generally, a good starting point when tuning for a cam is around 800 to 900 RPMs. The more aggressive the cam, maybe the higher that it will need to go. But after you kind of get the airflow side of it dialed in and the spark dialed in, then you can go back and try to lower that down. And by lowering your RPM down and your making adjustments to your timing, you should hit a maximum vacuum that you're going to see on that. And there's no reason to really go below that once you've reached that maximum vacuum, because you'll start losing vacuum and you will have issues whenever you go tip in on throttle, where it will stumble and cause issues with delivering power. So that being said, some of the other things that you need to do is you need to make adjustments appropriately on the timing, whether or not there is a base timing table that you have to adjust it to or an idle timing table. So I've got a third gen pulled up here. Let's jump over there, take a look at kind of some of the stuff that we have. Mainly underneath idle, we have the base set point that I talked about. And this one's a little high. This is on a 2001 Pontiac Firebird, but not quite high enough. I would still come in here, specifically in the operational ranges, and bump these up to about 900 to start. And I would also bring these that are below with AC on up to 900 to cover those. And that should get you in kind of the ballpark, an area where it should be effectively getting air in. So rolling moving idle. This is probably a manual car, so that's not being used. Let me double check. Yep. Rolling moving idle, there will be information populated in there. If there's an automatic, you need to do the same thing. Bump those up to a reasonable level to match what you've just done. Now, this is where we get into the more complicated side of things. Is we have all these adaptive idle set points where it will make adjustments to the idle control on the throttle body. The IAC, I believe it's called, idle air control. And so a lot of these will work the way that they are. So don't get too carried away with jacking with all of these settings. Specifically, if you go over to the airflow tab and you have the base running airflow, idle airflow, and you make your adjustments here and you get that pretty close, those other adaptives will land on what it needs to be at just from making those adjustments. So a lot of people will come in here and make adjustments to the adaptives, specifically on some of them as far as the airflow subtractor. As you see, this subtracts this much air from the airflow table whenever the RPMs are this high off. So if you get up to 400 RPM off, it will subtract 3.1 from that base airflow table. That's kind of what that stuff does. So that being said, the closer you are to having that in where you're operating in this 100 RPM or less error range, this thing will do what it's supposed to do. But in order to get there, we have to come into the base running airflow, the idle airflow table, and make adjustments to that. Now, as I said, you're not as effective at breathing air in at the lower idle set points with the more aggressive cams. But the thing about it is, because you have the additional lift and duration, you will still be getting more air in. But you can't make an assumption that you're going to get this much air in right off the bat. Say this were an automatic car. I'm just going to paste this over. This is not how it would be, but these numbers would be generally in the same area. I would come in here and I'm going to multiply this by 1.3 to bump it up about 30%, and I'm going to start there. You're going to then be able to go in through the PID, and you should be able to log your commanded idle versus what the actual is, and you'll see the correction. In fact, there is a short-term idle on the Gen 3s that you can log that will show you what the adapters are having to correct. And if it says that you're having to correct higher or lower, you can then come in and adjust your base idle airflow past that point. So that's the basics, the very basics. And that's what all this stuff is. There's so much information in here that you don't necessarily need to get into just on getting the idle set up. Because once you get the idle set up and in a decent area where it's operational, then you can just start doing your standard airflow tuning. But the other thing is we have to come in under Spark and under Advanced. We should have, here it is, the idle Spark Advanced table. In Drive, this is a manual, so in Park will probably be zeroed out. No, it's got something in there, but it doesn't matter. We want to adjust these up, and in the area where you have your idle sets, we're going to be looking in this range down in here. We want to bring that up. And a general rule of thumb is this is actually pretty well advanced. The 2001 Pontiac in this case must have had a decently aggressive idle in it from the factory, because you're going to start on a mild cam in the 20 to 25 range, and then if you get into a more aggressive cam, you might jump up to the 28 to 30 range on there, and that should give you a good enough platform to start on to get this thing running. Then, as I said, we will get in more in depth later on. But this should get you running, should get you a fairly steady idle, and you should be able to tune the rest of the vehicle with it after that. Now, let's jump over, look at the Gen 4. A lot of these things are going to be the same underneath there. If we come into idle, we're still going to have the base set points. Here you can see the automatic table is populated on this, even though this is a manual car. But same ordeal, we can come in here. We can bump this up to, say, 800 across the board to give us a little more room, and if need be, we could even take it up to 900 across the board and have an easier starting point, because you're going to be easier to get things dialed in the higher the RPMs start out, but don't get too crazy. And then it has the same things. This has adaptive idle, where we have the overspeed and underspeed RPM error multiplier. This is going to apply to your airflow in this situation. And so as it shows, as we get more out of whack here, it will change a multiplier. And then it maxes out at 198. If you find that it's being too aggressive where the idle is hunting up and down, you can come in here and multiply this thing by 0.5 to cut it in half, and that will slow the adjustments that it'll make. But the big thing being is that we have to get the base running airflow dialed in here. And it's set up a little bit different here, where it is gears and then idle airflow, same ordeal though. This is just an air map. We can come in here from the get-go and probably add 25 to 30% to this to get in the base area, and then see what kind of corrections we would see on the idle airflow adjustment. There will be, once again, a parameter that we can track on there that will show how much a correction that is having to be made in order to reach the idle airflow that we're looking for. Once again, Spark, we will have a idle Spark Advanced table, and we'll do the same thing. This is a lot more of what I expect on the normal cams, the Gen 4, the Gen 5 cams. So same ordeal. We'll come down into this area, and we might start this out at 22 degrees or so based on how advanced or how aggressive this cam is. If it's a very aggressive cam, we might jump her up to 26, and we might have to smooth out some of the areas and do some interpolation in between to make sure that there's a decent, healthy idle transition or a advanced transition in here through some of these areas. But that should kind of get us in the area that we need to be to get this cam running. Now, here comes the interesting thing, the fun one, the 5th generation, and there are a couple different ways that these handle idle. They still have a base set point. You're still going to do kind of the same thing that you did on the previous ones, where you can come in here and max all these out to 800, or there you go, take them up to 900, 950 if you need to. But you will see you still have an adaptive idle control over here, where if you look at this, there's your 0. Whenever you're at 0, it's considered spot on. Then the further away you get from 0, the more that it is going to adjust. Well, it is adjusting torque in this situation because this is a 5th gen and this is a torque-based model. So that being said, we don't have an airflow tab on this one. We have a torque tab that we're going to adjust instead. But even then, this is kind of this weird thing where we've got this, what they call the speed control reserve. And these are the torque values. These are in foot-pounds. We can adjust these out. I would suggest making very small adjustments. And honestly, on a 5th gen, you probably don't need to really make any adjustments to that table from the get-go. That will also work in concert with your standard virtual torque tables in the same areas based on the spark. And so it is very easy to get things carried away on getting a cam dialed in. And so your best bet on a 5th gen is to let the adaptives do their work, do their job. And if the adaptives are having to be way out of whack, then you want to go in and firm those things up, maybe bring in the parameters closer to where they need to be. But once again, that is something for another video where we get a lot more advanced on that side of it. You will also see that you don't really have a timing table for idle on this one because, once again, it is using the torque table, but that doesn't mean that you can't come in on the base tables and adjust it there. As you see here in the base table, you still have this range where you can bring it up, but given that these are VVT cams, the base timing might be a little bit aggressive in some of the area where it's at already, so you might just look at where that's at and bring this back down into that kind of sanity area of, hey, I've got a cam. This is probably going to be better off, right at 30 as opposed to being all crazy like that. And then same ordeal, a lot of this stuff, this is letting off throttle. Shouldn't really affect you any because of this is something to do with the emission side of it. You're not going to be ever running in there because you rip up in this range down here where you follow the curve down through there as you make power. And then whenever you let off the throttle, it does a significant amount of advance. I'm not sure why that happens, but it has to be something to do with the emissions on this thing to more properly, my guess, burn any gas that does get into the ignition chamber. Because remember, we have fuel cutoff whenever we're off throttle. So there should not be any fuel in there, but we're still hitting that spark really early for some reason. That's my assumption. If anybody knows any better, hit up the comments down below and let me know. And that's kind of the basis on the cams. I know you guys are wanting a lot more information on this, but this is something that we're going to have to do kind of piecemeal where we get these specific topics out of the way before we dive into the generation-specific tuning events and things like that. And trust me, this is better off. This way you kind of learn how these things interact with all the ECUs. You'll see the correlation between the different generations, and they're pretty much the same until you get into the torque-based tuning style. But other than that, we can't adjust some of the adapters, but we kind of want to leave those in place. Then we want to use those to better utilize or better understand where our airflow is doing, what it's doing, what adjustments we need to make to get things dialed in. But at the same time, it's very easy to overcomplicate cam tuning. I will say that I see this all the time where people get a little bit too hung up on making adjustments in spots where they shouldn't. And specifically, you got to realize that whenever you're buying an aggressive cam, this thing is not going to idle like stock no matter what you do. The idea is to get a very good vacuum on it as good as possible with that cam and to have something that does not stumble on tip-in. You have a performance cam. It does not make power down there at idle. It makes its power up in the RPM band. That's why they ask you where you want the power to be whenever they spec out a cam for you. So that wraps it up. If you have any questions, any suggestions, things like that, as always, hit up the description below. Throw a thumbs up out there and keep your eyes peeled for the upcoming cam videos. I will create a new playlist specifically dedicated to cam so we can start bundling up all this cam tuning information into one spot, have a good reference point for us to all come back to. Also, make sure and check out the Thursday night live streaming events, 8 Eastern. It's great. We had almost 50 people, I want to say, concurrently last week. It was awesome. So appreciate everybody that shows up there. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Just hit that button. You don't want to miss out on any of this. And hey, if you like this hat, you could go check them out over on the Patreon. Links down in the description. I've been giving them away to patrons, and I've got 7 or 8 more to give away here in the coming weeks. So don't miss your chance to win one. That being said, man, I just want to go ahead and tell everybody thank you for stopping by the garage. And remember, ABT, always be tuning.